Title: When the Storm Passed. A story of pain, strength, and redemption. Against all warnings, everyone warned her, her mother, her pastor, even her roommates back at the university. Blessing, this boy is no good. Chima drinks like tomorrow doesn't matter. He has no ambition. What exactly are you seeing? But Blessing was young, in love, and full of hope. She believed in miracles, and more dangerously, she believed she could change a man. Chima was tall, soft-spoken when sober, and had the kind of sad eyes that made her want to heal him. He had dropped out of Polytechnic, but told her big dreams of starting a car wash, a furniture business, and even a record label someday. "Just stand by me," he'd whisper. "I'll make you proud." So, despite everything, she married him. They had a simple wedding in her mother's compound in Owerri. A borrowed gown, cooked rice in coolers, and a small crowd of relatives who kept whispering, "God will help her." She didn't care. She believed in love. She believed in Chima. By the time their first child, Amaka, came along, reality had set in. Chima was barely around, always loitering at the bar with his guys. He came home late, smelling of cheap gin, singing old love songs with slurred words. If she asked about work, he would lash out, accusing her of being too forward or too nagging. Still, she pressed on. She got a job as a secretary at a local building materials company. The pay wasn't much, but it was steady. She used the money to pay rent, buy food, and pay for Amaka's daycare. 2 years later, she had their second child, Ngozi, and then came Ada. All girls, all bright, beautiful, and full of laughter. Each time Chima would sulk for days. He wanted a boy. Blessing, exhausted from birth and caring for toddlers alone, couldn't understand his disappointment. "Girl, girl, girl," he would hiss. "Na only pick and we go marry another man you dey born?" She stopped arguing. It was pointless. The fall. Years passed and Chima never improved. In fact, he worsened. He stopped pretending to look for work and started sleeping until noon. He sold off their television, then her blender, and even her phone one time. All for alcohol. Neighbors watched, sighed, and whispered. Some even mocked her for staying. "Na love dey killer," they'd say. But Blessing had children. She couldn't just pack up and leave. Where would she go with 3 small girls and no family support? Then came the worst blow. Her boss called her into his office one afternoon. "Madam, the company is downsizing. We have to let you go." Her hands turned cold. She begged. She explained her situation, but the decision was final. She left the office that day with her last salary and tears in her eyes. At home, Chima was asleep, snoring loudly with a bottle of ogogoro by his head. The girls were hungry. There was no food in the house. She managed the money for a while, bought Gary, beans, and a little rice. She skipped meals, told the girls stories while they ate so they wouldn't notice she had nothing in her plate. Weeks passed. The rent expired. She begged the landlord for time. Amaka started coughing constantly. The clinic demanded tests she couldn't afford. Blessing felt herself cracking, mentally, physically, emotionally. But she kept praying, kept hoping. Then, like a joke, she missed her period. "Not again." She sat on the floor of the bathroom holding the pregnancy test in shaking hands. Positive. She didn't cry. She didn't scream. She just sat, staring. Another child, another mouth to feed, another storm she wasn't ready for. When she told Chima, he laughed drunkenly and said, "Maybe this one go be boy." That was all he said. No questions, no concern, just a smirk and a sip. She couldn't afford antenatal care, let alone a scan. The nurse at the local clinic warned her, "This pregnancy fit no be ordinary, oh. Your body done dey swell too fast." But Blessing had no transport fare for a proper hospital. She stayed home, endured the swelling feet, the sleepless nights, the sharp pains in her back. The neighbors noticed. Some began to help. An extra bowl of okra soup. Some used baby clothes, a bag of rice from the church. Others just complained about the crying kids and the smell of unwashed clothes from her compound. One neighbor, Mama Esther, confronted Chima publicly one afternoon. "Your wife dey suffer and you dey drink? Get a job, you disgrace of a man." Shame finally pushed him to move. He got a small wooden box, placed it at the bus stop, and began polishing shoes for N50. He came home tired, complaining, sometimes still drunk, and always broke. Blessing said nothing. At least he was trying, in his own broken way. Then came the delivery. It was a Tuesday. She had been in pain since 4 a.m. and managed to drag herself to the General Hospital by Kiki with the help of Mama Esther. Chima was nowhere to be found. By noon, she was screaming in pain. The nurses yelled, "She didn't register! No scan! Who does that these days?" They rushed her into emergency. The doctor's voice was shocked. "It's multiple births!" By 3 p.m., Blessing delivered 4 babies, all boys. The abandonment. When Chima walked into the hospital and heard the news, he froze. "For what?" he asked the nurse. "4 boys. Your wife gave birth to quadruplets." He blinked, rubbed his face. Then, like a scene from a movie, he turned around and ran. He never returned. The cold hands of death. The hospital ward was cramped, under-equipped, and always cold. Blessing lay on the metal bed, her body weak from labor, her mind spinning from shock. 4 boys. How? How was she supposed to care for them when she couldn't even feed the 3 girls at home? She turned her head and saw them. Tiny, fragile bodies lying in incubators with tubes attached to their noses. The nurses moved quickly, whispering in medical terms. No one looked at her. No one reassured her. Then a nurse approached. "Ma, the babies are underweight. They'll need to stay here for a while, but honestly, we don't have enough incubators. You'll need to provide some things on your own. Formula, warm clothing, gloves, sterile pads." Blessing's eyes widened. "But I have nothing. Their father, he ran." The nurse looked at her with tired eyes. "You're not the first." 2 days passed. Then the first baby developed an infection. He stopped breathing by the morning of the 3rd day. The doctor called her aside. "We tried, but his immune system was too weak." She wailed. Her cries echoed through the ward. The nurse wrapped the tiny body in a cloth and handed him to her. A mother should never have to bury her child. Not like this. 2 days later, another followed, then another. 3 of her 4 sons died within 1 week. The last child, the smallest of them all, clung to life. She named him Zikora, show the world. A ray of light. Blessing returned home after a week in the hospital with Zikora wrapped in an old shawl. Her body was frail, her eyes hollow, her heart heavy. Her daughters ran to her as she entered their small 1-room apartment. They touched the tiny baby with awe, asking, "Where are the others?" She couldn't answer. She just cried and held them close. No word from Chima, no call, no visit, no note. He had vanished completely. Some neighbors said they saw him boarding a bus to Onitsha. Others said he'd run away to Lagos. For weeks, she survived on leftover donations from the church. Baby Zikora was sickly, always crying, his body weak. The clinic demanded money to run tests. She had nothing. One afternoon, a knock came at the door. She opened it and stood frozen. A well-dressed woman stood at the door, her hair braided neatly, her skin glowing. "Blessing." She blinked. "Yes? I'm Ngozi Nwosu. We went to secondary school together. You used to sit in front of me in chemistry class." Blessing's mouth dropped. "Ngozi?" "Yes, I was in town for a wedding. A neighbor told me about you. Can I come in?" Inside, Ngozi looked around and couldn't hide her shock. The leaking roof, the smell of damp clothes, the girls sitting quietly in a corner, Zikora coughing in a plastic basket wrapped in towels. "My God, Blessing!" Blessing looked down, ashamed. "This is my life now." "No," Ngozi said, shaking her head. "Not anymore." That same evening, Ngozi returned with a bag of baby food, antibiotics, diapers, and clothes. The next day, she took Zikora to a private hospital and paid for his treatment. She enrolled the 3 girls in a small private school near her house. She came every week, bringing food, checking on Blessing's health, and spending time with the kids. Then one Sunday afternoon, she said, "Blessing, I want to give you a job. I run a natural hair company in Port Harcourt. It's doing well. You can start as a production assistant." Tears streamed down Blessing's cheeks. "God bless you." Rebuilding. Blessing moved to Port Harcourt with her children. Ngozi gave them a two-bedroom flat above her salon. The walls were painted fresh yellow. The rooms smelled of lemon-scented disinfectant. For the first time in years, Blessing slept on a proper bed. She began working at the factory, mixing shea butter, packaging oils, cleaning shelves. It was hard work, but it was honest, peaceful, and she was earning. Zikora responded well to treatment and began to grow stronger, chubbier. He started sitting up, smiling, and grabbing her face playfully. His laughter lit up her world. She enrolled in an evening adult education program and began learning how to manage small businesses. Ngozi encouraged her, saying, "Someday you'll run your own shop too." In 1 year, Blessing had saved enough to open a small corner shop inside the salon. She called it Zikora Naturals, a tribute to the one son who survived. Women started coming in for her oils and hair masks. They said her products worked like magic. She smiled and told them, "The magic is survival." The woman she became. Blessing became a story in the community. Everyone knew the woman who rose from despair to dignity. She joined a support group for women who had suffered abuse and abandonment. She told her story without shame. "Don't die in silence," she would say at seminars. "Speak out. Ask for help. Leave if you must." Her face was featured in a local magazine under the headline, "The Woman Who Refused to Break." She opened a second branch of her hair store and employed 2 other single mothers. Her daughters grew fast, bright, bold, and brilliant. Amaka wanted to become a lawyer. Ngozi, named after her savior, wanted to be a doctor. Ada dreamed of becoming a writer. As for Zikora, he was now 4, strong, joyful, and always running around the shop, calling customers auntie and offering them mint sweets. Chima never returned. Sometimes rumors reached her ears. He was spotted at a mechanic shop. He was seen fighting at a bar, but she had stopped waiting. She had forgiven him, not for him, but for herself. Closure. One night, Blessing sat on the porch of her shop after closing. The stars were out. Zikora was asleep on her lap. Her girls were doing homework inside. The air smelled of lemongrass and warm bread. She looked up and whispered, "Thank you, Lord, for the pain, for the lessons, for the second chance." Then her phone buzzed. It was a message request on Facebook. "Chima, Blessing, I heard you're doing well. I messed up. I want to come and see my son." She stared at the screen for a long time. Then she replied, "You ran when I was dying. You left when your son was gasping for air. I've buried 3 children. I buried the idea of us with them. We don't need you anymore. Zikora will grow up knowing his mother fought for him. You can stay lost." She blocked him, for good. Epilogue. The storm passed. Today, Blessing is the proud owner of Zikora Naturals, a successful line of hair products with 3 branches and 10 staff. She now speaks at women's conferences across Nigeria, sharing her story. Her daughters are thriving. Zikora is in nursery school. His favorite color is blue, and he tells everyone, "My mummy is a queen." She smiles when she hears that. Because once she was broken. Once she had nothing, but she rose. She didn't just survive, she became the storm that passed. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe.